Hello and welcome back to the CarveCast episode 3. Now at the moment I am cracking out episodes very quickly because I'm trying to build up a little bit of a library, but obviously in future they won't be as regular as this. I'm hoping for once every 1 or 2 weeks, but I've not decided yet. So anyway, today we have a special guest. My beautiful wife is with us. So she's going to join us throughout the complete episode of this episode of the CarveCast. Again, we've got a really good agenda to go through. We're going to talk about gear. We've got like a whole big selection of gloves in front of us. For those that are watching on YouTube, you can physically see us holding up. For those of you that are listening online, if you would like to see what we're talking about, all you have to do is go onto YouTube and search for the CarveCast, as in carve, obviously to do with skiing. So we've got that. We're also going to do our destination spotlight like we're going to do every single week this week. But this week we're going to do it on Alpe d'Huez.
Cool.
So on the last episode we did Grindelwald. And this episode we're going to do Alpe d'Huez. And we are quite good people to talk about Alpe d'Huez because we have been there twice.
Yeah.
Once... Actually, we were there this time last year, right on this date, Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
And we were there for, I think, about 5 days of skiing.
We was, yeah.
And then we just went back for an additional day on our previous trip that we've literally just got back from just over a week ago. And we did it for the second time. Now, the first time we ever went, we were true beginners.
We was.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about it from that perspective. But we can also talk about it from more of a reality perspective for those that have been skiing a little bit more, because we just went back as more of an intermediate skier.
Yeah, and we were able to compare the two.
Yeah, 100%. We are also going to talk about some ski tips and techniques, hopefully, if I can come up with any. And we haven't got any listener questions or anything at this point, but if you do have any questions, please pop them either in social media to me or go to the YouTube channel, the CarveCast, and leave them in the comments section. And next week we can answer those questions, unless Jade's got any questions that she wants to ask, or maybe I've got a question I can ask her, and we can kind of run through it from there. But first up, we are going to just touch very quickly, just run us through very quickly on our last ski trip. What exactly did we do?
So we were on our way to Les Arcs, wasn't we?
Yeah.
And we drove over there. So we drove obviously from Calais, and on the way over we stopped at like 3 destinations, didn't we? This is where he's like looking at me like, where did we go? So we went to Alpe d'Huez first of all.
Yeah.
We went to Saint Foy.
Yes.
And then, was there another one before we went to Les Arcs?
No, Les Arcs.
And then Les Arcs, wasn't it?
And we did La Plagne as well.
And we did La Plagne. That's where I'm thinking of the 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were actually going to stop somewhere else on the way back, but
we didn't.
No, I ran out of energy because we did an entire 6-day skiing in Les Arcs and La Plagne.
Yeah.
We did an additional day in Saint Foy, and we did another day in Alpe d'Huez.
We did, yeah.
And the journey to Alpe d'Huez, we drove it in one continuous...
One hit,
which actually leads us into the destination spotlight, which is Alpe d'Huez, which was last year, and we did exactly the same thing.
We did.
Yeah. Quite often we stop halfway when we're going to these destinations and break up the journey. But the last 2 times we've been to the Alpe d'Huez, in fact, the 2 only times we've been to Alpe d'Huez, we've actually got in the car and driven the entire
the whole way
route from where we live in Kent all the way to Alpe d'Huez in one sitting. Yeah. Obviously with a couple of breaks, toilet breaks and food breaks and whatnot.
Petrol and whatnot,
But the journey itself actually to Alpe d'Huez seems fairly quick, doesn't it?
It seems quick for me because I'm the passenger, but you just get it done, don't you? You don't mind driving either, so I think it massively helps.
Yeah, so I think luckily our journey to Calais is very quick because we only live 40 minutes from the Eurotunnel.
Yeah.
So the journey in regards to going to Alpe d'Huez for us is quite simple. We drive down to the Eurotunnel, get on the Eurotunnel with the car, in the car with the luggage, and then from there we obviously arrive in Calais. The tunnel is literally about 30 minutes, pretty much dead on.
Yeah.
So it's very, very quick. Just bear in mind you do lose an hour on the way over because the clocks go forward. So if you leave here at 2:30, you actually get there at 4, even though it's only half an hour journey.
Yeah.
So just bear that in mind because that does have an impact. And then from there, it's about 9 hours from Calais, including about an hour and a half worth of stops.
Yeah.
So actually, we
definitely.
did it quicker than that because we didn't really stop very much.
No. I think we stopped like once or twice, but they were very brief, weren't they?
Yeah, very brief. So we actually did it in just over 8 hours from Calais to Alpe d'Huez, which is actually very reasonable. It's all motorway all the way until you get to the last, I don't know, hour or so, and then you come off at Grenoble and you do a little journey through there, and then you've got those wiggly, windy roads, all the way up.
And you can
to
see it on the
Alpe d'Huez.
sat nav as well, can't you? It's mad because as soon as we see them, we're like, here we go, we're going to start climbing the mountain.
Yeah.
And you can literally see them like back, forth, back, forth, back, forth. But they literally they call them hairpins, don't they?
Yeah.
Because they are so tight.
They are. Yeah, and it does go on for quite a while as well.
Yeah.
You're probably looking at maybe a good 40 minutes, I would actually say, from the bottom all the way up to Alpe d'Huez once those sort of winding roads start. And it's not too bad if you don't get stuck behind anyone, but if you do, it can be quite long-winded. But at the same time, even though France is a very kind of relaxed nation, they do not hang about on the drive-in.
They're so fast.
They are.
They overtake you left, right and centre, and you drive quite fast.
Yeah.
But they just don't care, do they?
No.
And they do that indicating. What is that indication thing that they do?
I don't know.
That's to get out of the way.
Oh yeah, they literally just get like right up behind
and
you.
Indicate.
Yeah, and they start indicating for you to like pull
To
over,
say
even
move.
though it's only a single lane road. It's carnage. But anyway, much love to the French people because I love the fact that they don't hang around. But on those mountain roads, when it's a little bit snowy, you do tend to be a little bit more timid.
Yeah, definitely. It's a little bit hairy up there, those roads.
If you are going to drive, again, I know I said this before, but if you haven't heard the previous one, you must have snow chains, 100%.
Yeah.
And preferably winter tyres as well. They do. You may not think they make much of a difference, but trust me, through experience, they make a huge difference.
Yeah.
And if we didn't have winter tyres and snow chains on our last trip to Grindelwald, we would never have even got out of the apartment car park, literally.
No, we've done it before, haven't we? Well, we haven't had winter tyres on the van, and it was...
We had to turn around.
It was pretty scary, wasn't it?
Yeah, so winter tyres, if I was you,
super
and
important.
100% snow chains. You must have snow chains.
Yeah, super important.
100%. Other ways you can get there, you can fly to Geneva and then get a train. I'm not quite sure of the exact details of where you go on the train and where you stop, but if you ask ChatGPT, it will tell you in great detail. Or I think you can even actually now get a Eurostar from London pretty much most of the way to the Alps. So you could do train the whole way as well.
Is that Ebbsfleet?
No, from London.
St Pancras.
Yeah, St Pancras,
Okay. Yeah.
So there is that as well. But in terms of the car, it's pretty straightforward, really, to be honest. It's really not a problem at all.
And the signposting and things like that is very straightforward as well. As long as you know what you're looking out for it and sort of the route that you're going to be taking, it is very straightforward, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Obviously, you've got SatNav anyway. My recommendation is you use Waze because that knows all the up-to-date information on traffic and all those kinds of things. But it's pretty straightforward. It's very, very easy. And actually, I wouldn't be deterred from driving at all, especially if there's a group of you and you can split the costs. But in terms of costs, you are looking between £200 and £300 for the crossing, so for the Euro tunnel. Then you're looking at least 2 tanks of petrol each way, regardless of what car you've got. Obviously, if you've got an electric car, it'll work out slightly differently, but that's going to take you a long time waiting for charges mid-journey.
Yeah.
So you've got that cost, and then you've got somewhere in the region of £50 to £80 worth of tolls each direction as well. So I think ours was about £120 last time. So do bear in mind all of these additional costs because they do add up, and then obviously you've got food, all that kind of stuff. My recommendation is you bring it from home.
And going back to the toll thing as well, is it not better for people that do a lot of travelling over to France and things like that? We found that thing in the car in the window screen was really good. What's that called?
Yeah, so the initial few times we went to France, and we have done it a lot because my parents have got a house in Champagne that we go to a lot, and normally we used to pull up next to the toll and physically have to put a card in.
I would have to do it on my side.
Yeah, because it's on the opposite side.
Yeah.
So when you're on your own, like I've done before, you have to get out
out
of the car, walk all the way around the car, get back in and then rush off again. But with someone else in the car, obviously they just put their hand out the window, put the card in the machine, and away you go. However, for exactly the same price, you can go online and you can buy these little electronic dart tag things that go in the windscreen. I forget the brand exactly, but if you Google like French tolls, you'll find it. And you put that in your windscreen and you just drive straight through all the tolls and it automatically direct debits out of your account.
And it will say when it has a T above the entrance with a 30, which
not
basically...
not all of them have a 30, but the ones that have a 30, you don't have to slow down as much. You can go through at 30 kilometres an hour.
Yeah, but you still have to be quite careful.
You do have to be careful, but you can go through faster. If they've just got a T, you still need to stop.
Yeah.
Just FYI. So... Also, in addition to that, once you get there, so accommodation. Now, both times that we have stayed in Alpe d'Huez, we have stayed in a hotel called Daria Letincel, I think it's called.
You're better pronouncing it than me.
Daria Letincel, I think it's called. And those, like Letincel, I'm definitely not pronouncing that correctly. They are a chain because they've also got one in Les Arcs, where we also stayed. And Val Thorens,
which I told you.
Yeah, they've got one in Val Thorens. So there's 3 of them.
Yeah.
They are as good of a hotel on a ski resort, on a French ski resort, as you will get.
Yeah.
There are higher ones in Switzerland for sure.
Yeah.
But in France, there probably are not many that are better than that. And it's not actually extortionate pricing. So we stayed there last week for like 6 or 7 nights. Booking in advance at these places saves you a lot of money. You can find them on booking.com. That saves you a lot of money. Booking last minute, maybe you can get a deal last minute, but if you're booking like a week, 2 weeks, a month before, that's probably going to cost you more money. So either massively in advance or risk it last minute. Up to you, but I would advise you do it in advance, as far in advance as possible. So for our February trip next year, I'm already looking to book that because it does work out significantly cheaper if you do it that far in advance. So, accommodation, we don't know about any other places in Alpe d'Huez because we haven't stayed at any other places, because both times we stayed here, it is a spa hotel. The spa stuff, I think we only used it once or twice, but it is amazing. Everything about it is great. Incredible food. It's not insanely expensive. They have parking, underground parking, safe, secure, locked up parking that's very easy, and both of them, the one in Les Arcs and the one in Alpe d'Huez specifically, are ski in, ski out. Yeah. And when I mean ski in, ski out, I mean the gondola or the ski slope, depending on what one you go to, or both. You walk out of the hotel and they are less than 10 steps.
Yeah, our room, our balcony looked onto the slope.
Onto the gondola,
onto the gondola, but the slope was like, we could still see the slope, couldn't we?
100%, yeah. So, but the one at Alpe d'Huez specifically, you put your skis, they've got a ski shop there called Ski Boutique, which I think is run by Intersport, but it's a bit of a sort of posher version. Yeah. And you leave your skis and your boots in there. It's all heated. They dry out every night. They look after them. They put them all away for you. It's totally secure. They do it all for you. And all you do in the morning is get up, put your stuff on, walk to the ski shop, put your boots on, grab your skis, and you are on the slopes. Yeah. Yeah. Now, in the case of Alpe d'Huez, you can't really ski directly from that hotel. You have to get a gondola to the main area. I'm not sure what they call that main area, but the gondola is less than 10 footsteps from the exit of the ski shop.
Well, when we went this time round, our room was next to the ski shop.
Yeah, so we were
wasn't it?
As close as you can possibly be.
I walked up to one of the doors and there was like the door that I thought was our room, and then the door next to it was another room, wasn't it? And then there was a ski shop. Yeah. And I was like, oh my God, we're so close. And then realised we was even closer because we was the door next to the ski shop. Yeah. You couldn't get much closer than that.
And the rooms, the one at Alpe d'Huez, we've stayed in 2 different types of room. I'm not sure what they're called, but the first one we stayed in was a slightly upgraded room. And that room was one of the best hotel rooms I've ever stayed in.
It's huge, wasn't it?
Yeah, huge. It had a walk-in wardrobe, massive, like the size of this room. It had the most beautiful bedding, an amazing bed, beautiful pillows, The service there is great. They come in and turn your bed over every night.
They're very good.
Everything about that place is top mark.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it is a 5-star hotel,
It
so
is
you
5-star,
would, so you would expect that, but it does live up to its stars. So yeah, I'd highly recommend that hotel in both Les Arcs and Alpe d'Huez specifically, because we're talking about that now. Now, in terms of what to take, that really depends on your travel arrangements. If you're driving, and that even then it depends what vehicle you've got, you can obviously take as much as your vehicle will take, and it's no problem for them. When you get there, they will come out in that hotel specifically. They will come out, take it all upstairs for you, unpack it. They'll do anything you want them to do. So it's very easy.
Yeah.
If you were staying in your own rented apartment or chalet or another hotel that maybe isn't quite to that standard, then bear in mind you may have to lug this stuff up and downstairs. So I would look at the accommodation first and see about that sort of stuff, because we've stayed in apartments where you have to go walk up and downstairs, and we've also stayed in apartments where they have lifts, and we've also stayed in hotels where they do it all for you.
Yeah.
But work that stuff out before you go
100%.
and build that into how you're going to pack and what you're going to take.
Yeah.
Again, we are going to do a completely separate special episode on luggage, how to pack, what to take, what not to take, everything else. So we won't put too much emphasis on that now. But if you are flying, then obviously you're restricted by weight. If you do fly, make sure if you've got your own ski boots that you put them in the plane with you, not in the hold. Because you can rent skis, you can rent poles, you can rent helmets and all the other stuff. But what you can't rent to the same standard is your personalised fitted boots. So don't let them leave your sight.
Yeah.
Because, you can rent boots, but they won't give you the same experience as obviously your professionally fitted boots, which hopefully is what you potentially have.
Yes.
So in terms of the skiing at Alpe d'Huez, in my opinion, of all the places we've ever been, Alpe d'Huez would be the ultimate place for not only a beginner that's never skied in their life because of the ridiculous amount of nursery slopes they have there and the magic carpets. There's loads, way more than we knew there were last time. But also because the main cluster of slopes around the main area are all green slopes. So for those of you that don't know, green is the absolute easiest of all slopes. Then blue, then red, then black.
Yes.
And then some places have yellow as well, which is a little bit of a different thing. But in Alpe d'Huez, they have this huge cluster of green slopes all around the beginner area, as well as multiple nursery areas that are absolutely designed for people who have never skied before.
Yeah. And
the green slopes are really designed for people that have maybe done one ski trip or have done a little bit of learning at home, as we did when we'd been on one ski trip and a bit of dry slope when we went to Alpe d'Huez.
Yeah, we did,
But tell everybody how you found Alpe d'Huez as a particularly nervous new skier that had only ever been on one 4-day ski trip.
What, the first time we went? Yeah, so definitely it did scare me. There was parts of it that were quite scary, but everything is so wide. Like all the slopes are so wide, aren't they? But there was numerous different slopes, like Adam sort of touched base on. A lot of the slopes, like in the begin, like in the first area, are all green slopes. What I will say about Alpe d'Huez is the terrain, I suppose. The terrain can be on different, like on a blue slope, they're very wide, but the terrain can be like, you can have like a bit of a dip and then it goes into a bit of a hill that you've got to go over. But that is still a good thing, I suppose, because it's getting you used to it, isn't it? But as an overall experience in Alpe d'Huez, I'll definitely say that it is a brilliant place for beginners and intermediate for sure. And obviously advanced, because you can go higher. For anybody who's more than a beginner, it's an incredible, huge
place to go. I think it's over 200 kilometres in size, loads of reds, loads of blacks. It's got the longest black in the world,
we was going to do that and we didn't have time.
You bottled it. But it's got the longest black run in the world, Seren. It's got amazing heights. It's as snowshore as most of the bigger, higher resorts are going to get. It's got a fantastic lift infrastructure.
Yeah.
And yeah, a great place for beginners. Now, when we first went there, even though we had skied one short holiday before that, and we'd done a little bit of training on the dry slopes, actually, even those green slopes were quite difficult for us, but we could definitely do them. And actually, you know, doing them more obviously gives you confidence. So I would say actually that Alpe d'Huez is somewhere you could go as someone who's never skied before.
100%. And the ski schools in Alpe d'Huez are amazing.
Brilliant. Yeah, they've got
like,
a huge ESF school.
Yeah, you've got the flags, haven't you? The beginner, the intermediate and the advanced. And you just sort of stand in your area. When you book, obviously, you just say how many times you've been skiing. If you've not been skiing before, you say beginner. And then they will take you to the correct runs that are, you know, for your, you know, level.
Yeah.
Which is brilliant.
Yeah. And again, if you are going to book a instructor before you go, just do a little bit of research before you book somebody, because again, you can just get some random instructor that's maybe not particularly interested or doesn't teach you in the right way. So ask around, get the right instructor. There is one guy there that I watch on YouTube called Cookie, and he does these videos on YouTube called Ride Along with Cookie, and he works at Alpe d'Huez, and he's got a lot of great information on his channel about Alpe d'Huez and the runs and everything else, and he would probably be a very good person to train with as well. So if you want to look into it, look up Cookie on YouTube, Ride Alongs with Cookie, Alpe d'Huez, and you'll find him. But also in Alpe d'Huez, we'll give you a couple of little hacks because or cheat codes, because when we went there the first time, it was actually the busiest week of the year, which is the half-term week, which is actually next week.
Yeah.
If you can, don't go on half-term week.
No.
The best time to go skiing is the second to the last week or of January, or even the first week of February, depending on when half-term starts, or middle of March onwards, because that period of the second week in Feb all the way up to the first week of March is flooded with French school holidays, because they stage them throughout the country, and you can mix in the UK half term as well. Busiest week of the year by far, so I would avoid that. But we went, and actually it wasn't the end of the world. Some of the queues were a decent size, but do you remember what our cheat code was for getting past the queues?
Yeah, we used to go in the area where you get the gondola.
Yes. So a lot of lifts in Alpe d'Huez are quite unusual. I haven't seen them many places before, but they mix chairlifts and gondolas. So a gondola is like a hanging shed that you all stand in, and then a chairlift is something that you would sit on like a chair. Now, with a chairlift, you don't have to take your skis off, so you can just sit directly on the chair, which is convenient, whereas the gondola, you have to take your skis off. So a lot of people can't be bothered to take their skis off, so they just get on the chairlift and they queue. But if you take the skis off and go in the separate lane for the gondola,
which is
you can
normally
skip a lot of queues.
It's normally to the left, and it's normally just like a single lane, isn't it?
Yeah.
Single file lane, basically.
Yeah, you can skip a lot of queues by doing that. And then the town itself of Alpe d'Huez, it's a really cute town actually. It's got some nice shops, got some nice restaurants. Yeah. It's not out of this world, but it was better than any of the Les Arcs areas for sure.
You didn't really like any of those sort of villages and towns, did you?
No, we'll talk about that on the Les Arcs one, but no, Alpe d'Huez though, beautiful little town, somewhere you can really walk around and enjoy and go shopping.
It's really pretty as well.
It is really pretty, yeah. I think they've got an outdoor swimming pool as well, I think.
Yeah, the Lido.
Yeah, I think they've got an outdoor swimming pool.
We saw it last time we was there. They turned that into the ice rink, I think.
No, they don't turn that. No, I think the ice rink's definitely separate to the pool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think they've even got like a leisure centre there as well that you can use. Got all the facilities. They've got what was the thing that we saw multiple times that you would love to do that we didn't do?
Oh, husky rides.
Husky rides, yeah. They've got the most beautiful husky rides. If you go on my TikTok at Mr. Tybox, there's videos on there of the huskies, beautiful huskies. But you do have to book that. I think it's 12 weeks in advance. I'm pretty sure it's 12 weeks in advance. So, yeah, if you do want to do the husky ride, you need to book that early on. You can do paragliding there. You can do loads and loads of stuff.
Yeah,
it's a huge place.
Loads of things.
Another little cheat code I'll give you is if you have got the ability, don't just stay around the central section. There's lots of like sub areas around that are way quieter than the main area.
Yes.
So just get your gondolas and your chairlifts out to all these separate areas and spend some time there as well, because they are much
some
emptier.
of the slopes in Outdoors, we would like go down, and then as you come down them, well, that one slope that we would always go down especially when we went there last year, and there was the little restaurant on the slope.
Yeah, beautiful restaurants.
Beautiful restaurant, but the slope wasn't so beautiful last year because I was like, oh, I can't do it. But actually, it's so funny because then we went back this year, and in my head, I was thinking it's going to be really hard. But it just shows how far we've come, especially me. You've obviously come a long way, but you know, the slope was it was nothing. But then once you've come down that slope, you've then got 4 different sections that you can go and do, and all of which are either a blue or a green, aren't they?
Yeah. I mean, when we went back this year, we've skied a lot since the first time we went last year, and those greens that we found tough last year were almost so easy that they were almost not that much fun. Yeah. Which is bizarre.
What about that one that when we came down, it was far to the right and it was a green, and I said, come on, let's just try it, and it was so flat.
Yeah,
it was
so flat. Yeah.
You had to the thing is, it's not fun when you've got to pull yourself along, is it?
No.
Because it's knackering.
But it shows that, you know, a little bit of practice, and this is what I said in the podcast previous, the best thing you can do if you're going on any ski trip for the first time, the absolute best thing you can do is to go on some training first. Go to a dry slope, go to an indoor ski slope, or you know, anything where you can practice, and go and do that for sure. That will make so much more of your holiday than just turning up and having to spend the whole time on the nursery slopes and never getting to do the actual runs on the pistes and seeing all of the mountain. So if you really want to make the most of your money and your trip, do that training beforehand. So I think that kind of sums up Outdoors really. I think out of all the resorts we've been to, definitely the best for people that have never skied before.
Oh, it's 100% a beginner resort.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Well, but it has something for people. It's not a beginner resort because it has, you know, the longest black run in the world, for example. It's got loads of
but down the bottom is definitely an area, isn't it, where you would say, right, I'm a beginner, I'm going to stay in this area here is the best area. Obviously, if you are advanced or if you're intermediate or advanced, you just go higher up on more chairlifts, basically.
Yeah,
it's got a fully deuce.
They have designed it specifically for catering for beginners.
Yeah.
But if you're not a beginner, trust me, you will have just as good a time there because they've got plenty of terrain, plenty of off-piste, plenty of free touring. There's everything there for everybody. But even if you're someone that has skied once before, maybe last year or something, this is still the ultimate place to go that we've been to anyway. I've never seen anywhere as good as this that's catered for even people that have either never skied before or people that are relatively new, regardless of how new you are, all the way up to the rest of it. So highly recommend Outdoors.
And we'll be going back because we've got to do the black.
Yeah, the first time we went there, we almost walked away from there thinking we wouldn't go back because we found it so difficult, but that was more of an us problem than it was a resort problem.
100%.
But now we've been back there a second time, we actually sort of, even though we was only there for one day, we actually loved it more than we did when we stayed the first time.
Yeah.
So highly recommend Outdoors, 100%. And it's one of the closer ones as well in terms of driving. It's definitely quicker than the vast majority of other resorts, except for maybe Chamonix and Le Jade or something. But it's very, very, very good. Highly recommend. I think, what would you give Outdoors out of 10? What's your favourite resort?
Whatever.
Yeah, that we've been to.
Zermatt.
And what would you give it out of 10?
What would I give Zermatt out of 10? 10.
What it's perfect in every way.
Pretty much.
You mean, see, even though Zermatt is my place, I wouldn't give it a 10 because nothing's perfect, because there's definitely things I could improve there.
What would you improve in Zermatt?
We'll talk about that on the Zermatt episode. But there are definitely things that could be improved for sure.
What would you give Outdoors?
Well, if my mark for Zermatt is like a 9.5, my Alpe d'Huez, I would probably say 8.5.
Oh, that's quite high.
Very, very good. Yeah, and I'm probably going to go back there in a couple of weeks when I go on my own for a day or so.
Will you do the black?
Yeah.
Then you can like test it out.
Yeah. I think Alpe d'Huez is really quite a special resort. And one thing we didn't mention actually is right at the end of the day, if your hotel or accommodation is in the town, it is ski in. So you ski all through the village, through tunnels, and it's really cool and exciting.
Yeah, it is really
and
cool.
fun. And I
It
love
is really fun, yeah.
skiing through the town.
Yeah. We skied through like all the tunnels and stuff, didn't we? Yeah.
Yeah, super fun. In fact, Alpe d'Huez, just to finish, has got one of the toughest runs in Europe as well, called the Tunnel, which is an absurdly hard black run where you have to go through a tunnel first. So even for people that really want a challenge, there is something for everybody there, for sure.
Yep.
So that is our destination spotlight of the week, Alpe d'Huez.
I would say Alpe d'Huez I would give, because you said about Zermatt.
Oh, sorry, yeah, what were you going to
I would say I would give Alpe d'Huez, I don't know, that's a tricky one. I'd say most probably, an 8.5, maybe on the cusp of a 9.
Just to put that into context, your Zermatt is 10.
Yeah.
So your Alpe d'Huez is 8.5.
Yeah.
What is Les Arcs then?
Oh, I'd say like an 8.59.
So
they're pretty much on par.
Okay. So you're putting Les Arcs and Alpe d'Huez close.
Yeah, because they're pretty much on par with each other.
Yeah,
we'll get on to Les Arcs and the reason why in a minute. But yeah, I would say they're pretty much quite similar in a lot of ways.
Yeah. So on to gear talk. We're going to talk about gear, which maybe isn't the best phrase, being that it's commonly used for a different purpose, but we are talking about ski gear.
Yeah,
so
ski gear
the first thing I want to talk about, and if you're on YouTube, you'll be able to physically see these things. So again, if you want to see it and you're listening on the podcast app, go to YouTube, search for the CarveCast, and you can watch these things. If not, you're going to have to just kind of take my description, my verbal description. Now, I have a collection of Stockley skis, which I love. I also have one pair of Factions here.
There's a lot of Stockley skis.
But I do love my skis. And because I love all of the things that I have bought, I like to really look after all of my things to the highest level. All of my things are immaculate. They're all cleaned. They're all looked after, maintained. Everything's immaculate. So when I travel with my skis, I like to make sure that they are kept in the utmost condition. And putting them just in a bag with your boots and stuff, all kinds of other stuff rattling around or in the back of your car or whatever it is not good enough for me. So I found online...
It's a big grey sock.
Which I'm now showing to the camera. And like Jade said, it is a huge grey sock. But if you feel that though, feel the quality of it.
Yeah, it's so good. It's like thick, but it's still got a really nice like give to it, if that makes sense.
And it's fleecy on the inside,
just to keep them nice and soft.
All Velcro the whole way up and down.
Yeah,
and
so
also has
not hard to put in, or
No. What's that? Also has holes for the brakes.
Oh, okay.
The skis
I didn't know that was.
well.
I thought you just broken it.
But these are ski socks.
They
Not
are ski
socks you put
socks.
on your feet, but socks you put on your
Skis.
skis. And they keep them beautifully protected, stop them scratching against one another, stop them scratching against anything else.
Are they water absorbent as well?
No, they're just
Okay.
they're almost like tracksuit bottoms.
They are literally like a tracksuit bottom before your ski.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now these ones are made. You can get very expensive ones, which are probably not worth the money. But these ones, because originally I actually saw some on TikTok, I think it was, and there's a whole brand. And when I looked at them, I thought, oh, I want them. And then when I looked at the price, I was like, no, I don't want them. They're so expensive. But these ones I found on Amazon, and they're actually really good price. But I can't remember. I can't find
put a link in the
I'll
description.
try and put a link in the show notes for them. Actually, they've over there. There's one, and it's got the thing on it. Lila, could you pass me that? Just don't knock the.
Don't knock the camera, darling.
My little 9-year-old daughter is here. Here,
She is.
here. Thank you. Right, go on, you can go off now. This is what they're called. They're called...
Snow.
No, I can see what they've done now. So when you hold it that way, they're called Snow. But the actual brand name is called Mons.
Oh.
So it's
'Cause
snow,
that's really
but
weird.
actually the brand is Mons.
Very clever.
M-O-N-S. And on Amazon, I think they're about £20 for a pair, which I think is really good value because these are going to last a lifetime. They're such nice quality. Like, you'd wear this. They are really nice quality. Really nicely put together, and they will keep your skis nice. So, you know, if you can
actually, the Velcro is like really high quality.
Yeah.
Like, even when you put that Velcro on there, and it sounds silly, but some Velcro you get is rubbish.
Yeah. So, highly recommend those for looking after your skis. And obviously, the more longevity you get out of your skis, the more you're saving yourself and the environment.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you're not having to replace them as often, and it's nice to have them not all scratched up and damaged. In my opinion,
that material is like really nice.
Yeah,
like,
so
you would have a pair of tracksuit bottoms or a hoodie in that material.
Have a look at those Mons on Amazon, and I'll try and put a link in the show notes or in the video description. Now, next up in our gear talk, we're going to talk a little bit about ski gloves. Holly and I spoke a lot about mistakes that all of our whole group have made when it comes to ski gear, and what things we've bought and then had to replace with other things because they weren't good enough, or we didn't like them, or there were better alternatives. So we'll start off with Jade. So talk through your first set of gloves. Just explain to them what you bought first of all.
So these are, how do you say it? Roish. So these are Roish, and they are finger gloves, which basically means that your finger goes in every single hole. And you know what? They are super warm. They're great insulation, and they do keep... I've never had a problem with my hands being cold. But these ones, I do really like these. And even now, I put them on, I'm like, oh, they're really warm. And I do really like these. But after doing a lot of research, we realised that mitts are warmer than finger gloves, basically.
But if your hands were never cold in them, why did we get mitts?
We got mitts because it was just something else to have.
Yeah.
Hey?
Okay, so
I'm a woman, babe. You need more than one. How many pairs of gloves have you got?
Yeah, a few,
Right.
but that's not the point. Now, these gloves, this brand, I actually love this brand. I would highly recommend this brand. A few of us in our group have got this brand, and they are brilliant. Reusch,
Yeah.
R-E-U-S-C-H.
Yeah.
We could be pronouncing it wrong, but they are lovely, lovely gloves. What I will say though is these are a year old, and when I felt them, the leather does feel a little bit dry and thinned out, and
Maybe
I have
it needs
actually
to be-
treated these once before.
Yeah.
So, you know, I mean, I don't know if that
Don't
means
break 'em.
any negative, but they maybe need another
Coating,
waxing.
yeah.
Because they do feel a little bit.
But when I had these, when I used to wear these, I used to wear my Lecky, what do you call them, madam? My Lecky things that attach.
Oh, so on the with ski poles,
Yeah.
you can get ones with straps, or Lecky, who make the vast majority of poles. They have this like click-in system, and because Jade's gloves didn't have that built in because they're not made by Lecky, she put the little thing over the top of them. It's like a little strap, and then
Yeah.
that allows you to click into your pole.
Yeah, and so then that way, if you were to fall over, your poles aren't gonna go anywhere, basically.
Yeah, or if they need to, they can just pop off.
Oh yeah, sorry. If they need to,
Yeah.
they can pop off. But as well, it's I quite liked it. But
Yeah.
then again, it was quite annoying because you used to have to do it under the Lecky bit and then undo the glove, which was a bit irritating. So that's the first pair, but I do really like those still, and they are actually really warm. I sort of forget I've got them. Might try them when we go away.
Yeah.
And
So I
then
think the key thing is really with gloves and mitts is that gloves give you more dexterity. That you can use each one of your individual fingers. You can grip things better, etc. But mitts are significantly warmer because your
Yeah.
fingers are all together.
Yeah.
And actually, something I found out recently: a lot of gloves you buy, you get the thumb, the main index finger, and then the other three are together, like a lobster glove. Have you seen those?
yeah.
And the reason for that is because your thumb and your finger have more of a blood supply than the other three, so they get colder
Oh, interesting.
than these two.
So these three have to stick together.
Yeah.
to keep each other
So
warm.
they're like proper little friends. They
Yeah,
need to stay
little
together,
family.
whereas these ones can be lonely and go
Yeah.
on their own. But obviously in a mitt, they're all together, which really holds that heat in much better than it does in a glove. And not only that, with a glove, the surface area for the cold to hit and the amount of seams is way more. Whereas obviously on a mitt, much less seams and much less surface area.
Yeah, but I would say, what are these called, Adam?
I think they're called Ziener. Ziener.
Yeah, and these are the mitts that I do wear a lot. What I do like about these ones, the mitts, is that the cuff of them is bigger, so that when I put them on, but I've got my ski jacket on, the cuff goes over my ski jacket. I like that. Whereas with the finger with the finger ones, they're a lot tighter around the cuff. And also the other thing I love about the mitts is the fact that I've got the what would you call them?
Stop you losing your gloves. They're like wrist
guards.
Yeah, to stop you losing your gloves.
Like that.
So not all gloves come with them. Like these gloves that I've got that are also Reusch, they didn't come with them, but I bought those
to go on it
separately. So they basically, what they are for those that are listening, they go around your wrist and they've got a bit of string that connects to the glove.
Yes.
So when you take your glove off, you don't lose your glove.
Yeah, it's like a band. It's like a bracelet that goes around your wrist and you've got a bit of string that's connected to your glove, isn't it?
Yeah, but don't buy a glove just because they have those or they don't, because you can buy those aftermarket, like Hestra do some. And in fact, these ones here have the Lecky one, who also do one as well.
But I tell you what's really great as well is when you're on the chairlift, and if your hands aren't too cold, or you want to take a picture of the moguls or whatever it may be, you just take your glove off, and because you've really got this bit around your wrist, you know, the bit that sort of is protecting the glove, you can take them off and they're not going to go anywhere. Because we do see, don't we, when we're on the chairlifts, you see all
People's
sorts.
Gloves,
you see gloves, poles, all sorts. But yeah, I would say I love both of them, but yeah, the Ziener, whatever they're called, they're sort of at the moment, my favourite. However, the ones that I really want.
Anyway, these, you've already got two, that's enough. So these are made of Gore-Tex, which is literally almost very close to 100% waterproof, and leather on the back, because leather is like super hard wearing. And you do have to remember, when you pick your skis up, because a lot of the time they're together and they're also very sharp, this bit here needs to be tough.
Yeah.
Because sometimes you will slide down them, it will pinch them in between, and this needs to be up to the task.
Yeah.
You can actually see a couple of areas where you've pinched them, so it must be tough. So the top of this is Gore-Tex, the bottom of this is leather, and yeah, these are a great glove. One thing I will say about mitts is some mitts, the fingers are
in them, like
all together and touching, and other mitts like mine, the fingers, each one has their own compartment, even though it's a mitt.
I quite like that.
I think that is probably warmer, although I suppose you could argue if the fingers are together they're giving each other warmth. I don't know, but I like the ones with separate fingers in a mitt. So when I first started skiing, I had gloves, and now all I have is mitts. I actually gave Reese my gloves because I just like mitts now. They're definitely warmer. I'm older with bad blood circulation, so I definitely have bigger issues with keeping my hands warm. So mitts to me are the only option. Yeah. And something that Jade spotted there as well, which is important, is the cuff. This cuff will typically go over your garment, like around it. It's much easier to put on because you just pull it up and your sleeve slips inside. Whereas these types of gloves with the small wrist, your garment, you have to carefully pull it all the way around the outside to sort of give you coverage. So these are things that you need to think about when you're choosing your gloves.
Sorry to interrupt, but also another thing with that is when you get off of the gondola, you've got your poles, you've got your skis, and you just want to get on the mountain, and everyone's really excited. You want to just get it done as quick as you can. So if you need to take your glove off and put it back on again, you want something that's just easy to get off and get on. If you start faffing around with the cuff, it can be quite irritating.
It can be a bit long. So my glove journey went a little bit like this. I started off with the Lecky race gloves, which were absolutely incredible. And these mitts are exactly the same as my gloves were. So these are like yellow World Cup racing Lecky gloves. They're black leather and some other material, plasticky material, with a bit of a metal silver bar on the front for people that race where you hit the poles, the gates. It's got the Lecky speed system in that allows you to clip your pole to it. It didn't come with the wrist straps to hold them on, but you can buy them. And this one is lovely. The compartments for your fingers are all separate.
They've got compartments.
Yeah, they're all separate. Obviously very protective because they're race gloves. These ones have got the small wrist, so you have to put your jacket over the top rather than having the gaiter that comes down the outside. It isn't a bit annoying, I must admit, compared to the ones where they go over. But these, I think the ones that tuck in look better.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah. But these are fantastic, quite expensive. I think Jade's gloves are probably about £100 each, roughly. Maybe 80, maybe 120, but
yeah, they were
roughly.
more than 100, a little bit more than 100. I remember that because I got them in Holland.
These gloves are about £250 each, I think. So these are quite expensive, although I think I got them on an offer for about 160. So
okay, good
but
try.
You can try that on and feel. I also got these Royce gloves.
Oh yeah, they're nice.
These are mitts, and these are 100%, not 100%, but these are categorically warmer than those.
Really?
Yeah, these Royce gloves are a thing of beauty.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know, just better materials, I suppose.
Wow.
These are full leather, much the same as their full leather. This is like a really soft, like feel that goat leather.
Yeah,
it's
that's
so
insane
soft.
How soft that is. That is so soft.
These ones are the Royce, they're like white race gloves. They have a harder knuckle for people that race. Again, they have the tighter wristband, but they do have the individual compartmentalized finger areas.
I
Put
really
that
like
on and you see how lovely they are. These gloves I would highly recommend. They're white, hard knuckles, mitts, Royce, bit of black on them.
Don't they?
Yeah, and again, I bought the
nice.
Hestra wristbands to keep them on my wrists. They are amazing. I think they're about £150, and I would highly recommend those. They are phenomenal. How nice do they feel?
Yeah, they feel amazing. They feel like they've got a little bit more inside them. Does that make sense? Like a little bit like round each finger, like each compartment. They just feel a little bit more cushiony than the Leckies.
They are beautiful.
Yeah,
they are.
And the material
lovely.
on the outside as well is like next level.
And then just recently, I got these Royce heated gloves. They've only written on them, they've got Artex XT waterproof soft Royce soft shell. So from that you can probably Google them, and they are heated gloves. They've got 3 stages of heating. So on the back here you've got a button, you hold it down, you've got 3 different heatings, and then the battery just sits inside the cuff, which does obviously make them heavy, and it also makes them quite big as well. But they do have the compartmentalized fingers, and they are extremely warm. On setting number 1 of the heating, these things will last you an entire day skiing, 9 to 5, easy. Especially if you turn them off when you stop. But I typically, they're such
huge.
Yeah, they are such warm gloves. A lot of they're warmer than both of these. A lot of the time I don't even turn them on. But the good thing I love about the heated gloves is because I take a lot of videos and photos, and your hands out, and sometimes your skin, it gets freezing cold. With gloves, it doesn't matter, in fact all equipment, it doesn't matter how warm they are, if when you put your body or your hand or your foot into them, it's cold, they take a very long time to warm up. Whereas if you're warm when you put these things on and you never take them off, you will never get cold. So you should always be warm when you put these things on, because you'll stay warm. But if you start taking them off, it's difficult to get that heat back. With these heated gloves, the heat comes back straight away. And the thing I like about them as well is if, for example, one of our group, or even like my little girl, her hands get cold because she's been using the phone or playing in the snow or whatever, anyone can borrow these for 2 or 3 minutes, put their hand in them, and their hand's going to get nice and warm, and then they can put their glove back on
straight away.
And it really does help everyone's hands warm up. They come built in with a fantastic wrist strap, the best wrist strap out of even the aftermarket ones. It's a gaiter cuff, so it does go over your jacket.
They are humongous though, aren't they, the gaiter cuffs?
Yeah,
a lot bigger.
But I think these are sensational. I did a lot of investigation into heated gloves because I do have bad blood circulation, and these ones were my favourite. But if you can't find these, because I've only ever found these on the continent in Europe, I've not found these in the UK, I would say the best ones to get would be the Hestra heated gloves. Be careful what ones you buy, because if the batteries break or something breaks and you can't buy that part, you're just wasting all that money, and obviously anything electrical can definitely break. So highly recommend these. I'm giving these a 9.5 out of 10.
Wow.
I'm giving these
Royce
a 9.5 out of 10.
White and black.
And the Lecky I'm giving a 9 out of 10. So they're all very, very good. Like very, very good. The
These
Reusch
are-
and the Lecky don't come with the wristband, so you need to buy that separately, whereas this particular Reusch glove does.
And also the other thing about the Reusch ones, the heated Reusch ones, is the main part of them is leather, isn't it?
Yeah, so they're leather
But then
and
we've
Gore-Tex.
got Gore-Tex here, and the cuff is Gore-Tex,
Yeah.
which actually is meant to be better because it's a bit softer, isn't it? A bit more durable.
So this Gore-Tex is more waterproof as well. But yeah, where you pick up your skis and stuff, and I've done a lot of skiing in these, and my skis are very sharp and very pinchy. They're still immaculate. Like, they are literally like brand new.
They're amazing.
Yeah, but I would highly, highly recommend them. The only reason I don't give them a 10, I give them a 9.5 is because all the heat is in the fingertips, which is obviously what gets cold. But it only really works when you're gripping your pole or if you have your hand in a fist, because otherwise they're not fully touching. So I'd knock a tiny bit off of that. But these are a lifesaver. They're fantastic.
Mine, they've got like part leather, part material, like part Gore-Tex on both. Look.
Yeah.
Look. Well, that's leather there, but you got the Gore-Tex on that bit there.
Yeah, Gore-Tex is very waterproof and very breathable, maybe even more so than leather. So I guess they mix it up like that. But they use leather for the hard wearing areas so they don't wear out.
Yeah.
In terms of industry news and trends, which we will start doing when we start picking up on industry news and trends, we are currently on the 14th of February.
Valentine's Day today.
Valentine's Day, yeah. And I'm making her do this.
I know. I know, good wife.
Valentine's Day. So happy Valentine's to everybody.
Yes, happy Valentine's, everybody.
The industry news is, I don't really know any industry news, but what I do know is we've just had 3 or 4 days of snowfall in the Alps. Not a huge amount, but some areas have had 40, 50 centimetres like Chamonix, which is a good amount. But most areas have had maybe like a 20 centimetre top up. But that is good because if you're going skiing next week, on the busiest week of the year, which is half term, you've just had a bunch of snow.
Yeah, it's going to be nice.
And the pieces are going to be unreal, at least for the first few days. They're going to get a bit smashed up because the traffic's so high.
Didn't we? We had such nice. The snow in Alpe d'Huez was lovely, wasn't it?
Unreal,
powder, like proper powder.
Yeah, beautiful, yeah. So you guys that are heading off on probably tomorrow, week Saturday to Saturday, you're going to have the best conditions because you've got a bluebird all week and you've just had a little bit of a top up on the snow. So I'm very jealous. You've gone at the perfect time and it's going to be unreal no matter where you are. Even those lower levels, places
cool.
like Majiv, Morzine, a little bit lower there, and even certain places in Chamonix, Les Houches and various other places, they're going to have all had a little bit of a top up. All the little brown patches will have been covered over, hopefully, and you're going to have an absolutely sensational time. Yeah. Marco Odermatt just became world champion yet again, who I love because he's a Stockley skier. That is a little bit of industry news. If you don't watch the racing, it is a lot of fun actually to watch, especially the fast downhill. I think everyone would, even if you're not in skiing, you'd enjoy the downhill because it's mental. They do 100 mile an hour and they're jumping all over the place. It's nuts.
It's crazy.
And you can watch it on Eurosport or Discovery, various places, even on YouTube, I think.
We watch it on a Sunday whilst eating a roast dinner.
Yeah, it is quite a nice thing to watch. Have you got any questions you would like to ask?
Ask you.
Have a think about it.
Okay.
One bit we haven't touched on is our ski technique and tips. In the last episode, we spoke about being on the outside ski, and Holly gave us a few things that she had picked up over her time coming recently from being a very beginner to a good intermediate. So I think on my tip of the week is going to be the boring one, which is pressure in the front of the boot. So there's this big myth that you need to somehow lean all the way forward, which is wrong, but you see it a lot, and I think it's an easy way to try and get beginners forward. But the truth of the matter is you don't really need to be really leaning over the front of your ski, because all you're doing is taking the grip off the back of the ski. So what you always want to think about, and what I always think about, is not necessarily having your whole body forward, but it's about having constant shin to boot contact. So your shin needs to always be not necessarily properly powering through it, but just touching it. So even at the end of the turn where you can be a little bit on the backs of your feet, you still must make sure there's that little bit of angle between your ankle and your knee going forward as it goes up. So you're always touching on that front of that boot. And if you can keep that contact the whole way through the turn, that's going to keep you in a good position, because even if you do tend to maybe come towards the back of your foot towards the end of the turn, at least you're going to have that little bit of ankle flexion, which is the angulation of from your foot up to your ankle, up to your knee, where your knee is constantly moving forward as it goes up. It's going to put you in good stead. So rather than thinking like lean forward, hang your whole body over the front of the ski, try and think about just having your shin touching the cuff of the boot the whole way through the turn. And if towards the middle or the end of the turn, which is typically where you might lose contact, bring your skis back with your feet and keep that contact with the boot, because that will put you in good stead to become a better skier.
Amazing.
So yeah, that's that. Any questions?
I would say my one thing is, like going down quite a steep slope, what in your head as you're going down that slope, if you're in your sort of technique era, and you're thinking, right, I've got to do what I know most probably not as much now because you just do it without even thinking, but like back then when you would go down that slope and you would really think about it, what would the advice be on like a steeper slope? Like, what are you thinking as you're going down with technique,
Yeah, so first thing to say is, yes, I am a level 1 ski instructor, but I am not particularly experienced. I've only been skiing for just over a year, although I have skied a lot of days and I've been with a lot of good ski instructors, and I've done my level 1, about to do my level 2. I am not like a vastly experienced ski instructor, so you should definitely talk to people that are better than me. But my best piece of advice is not actually ski related. My best piece of advice to skiing anything steep is, first of all, it's very important that you do have the ability to do it. Being afraid or nervous or anxious doesn't mean you don't have the ability. It means you're one of those things. But you must have the ability. If you have been skiing for 2 days and you're going to throw yourself down some red, that's just dangerous towards you and 100%. Other people. Yeah. So you must have, don't be an idiot, first of all. But the most important thing about the steeper slopes, which I learned myself, and I think you're beginning to learn as well, is don't stand at the top of the slope and looking down, working out what you're going to do.
Where you're going to go.
Just come up to the terrain in front of you, make sure it's safe, and ski what is in front of you.
Definitely.
The more you think about the colour, the more you look at it, the longer you stand up there, the harder it gets.
It is a bit like a mother's meeting, because even when you get to like a steeper bit, it's steep before you get to it, because there's people standing there looking down, doing what then I want to do, but then you think, I've just got to get through these lot and not even like stand in their little group. You've just got to get going, haven't you? Yeah. Because if you do, you're completely right. If you stand there and you think, oh my gosh, how am I going to get down there? But I would definitely say, like, from, again, not skiing for very long to like now starting to really understand different things, especially with what Adam tells me along the way, is, if you are going down somewhere steep, like big turns as well will get you down a steep hill a lot quicker than small little turns, and also because you're looking down the slope, you can see where you are heading. If you're like, I used to look at my skis all the time, didn't I? Yeah. And I wouldn't ever look down the slope, whereas when you look down the slope, you can think, right, that's sort of on the left is a little bit steeper, so I'll stay on the right hand side. I think it's about sort of judging. Yeah,
so picking your line.
That's exactly right.
But the most important thing about skiing steep slopes is, in my opinion, like I said, obviously you've got to have you've got to be able to do it. Yeah. But that's not what stops most people. Most people get stopped because of the fear, the anxiety, and the nerves. Mm-hmm. And actually, if you just don't stand there and look at it, it's a whole bunch easier.
Yeah, 100%.
Because I even noticed on our last trip when we was in Les Arcs, on the sort of couple of small occasions I skied on my own, and I just wasn't even looking at what was in front of me. Yeah. I barely, sometimes I might have thought, oh yeah, that was steep. But I didn't ever think about it. I didn't think, oh, should I do that? Like, what route should I take? I just skied
Did
what was in front of me.
That makes sense.
And yet, when I was with you and you got nervous sometimes, and we stood at the top of the slope, even then, I'm starting to look down, and I'm thinking, God, that's steep. Like, that's really steep.
But didn't say. You were just like, yeah, babe, come on, keep going.
I was like,
fine.
God, that's steep.
Push her down. Yeah.
That's really steep. That's icy. Look at that. Oh, there's a hard patch there. Oh, that person just slipped up.
That's the worst
and the more
bit.
you stand there, the harder it gets. Just if you've got the ability, like Jade does, you just ski what is in front of you, get on with it, be conscientious, be ethical, and try and stick to good technique.
That was like when we was in Zermatt and me, you and Molly went over to the bit where the flags were. What was that called? Like the like racing course bit.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And because I watched you go down
The
slalom, you sort of slipped on an icy bit. Not slipped, but you could see it.
Yeah.
And then Molly slipped on the same bit. And then I thought, no, I'm not doing it. So
but you could have just gone round the outside.
I know, but then I had to walk up the slope and then come down actually, I think a harder red.
Yeah, 100% harder, yeah. You were crazy.
Yeah.
But anyway, so yeah, ski what's in front of you.
Yeah, definitely.
Don't stand there and stare at it. It's like a lot of things, you know, if you, like a puzzle even, you know, like a very simple puzzle, 1,000-piece puzzle, the longer you stand there and think, Jesus, that is a lot of work, the more harder it gets.
Yeah.
If you just crack on with it and start putting out the outside of the puzzle, blah, 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 you just get on with it.
Yeah,
it's definitely easier.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've even found that, like I said, that definitely even affects me when I'm standing there trying to help you. Yeah. The more I'm looking at it, the more it's becoming more difficult. Where actually, when I'm on my own, I'm just skiing it. I'm not even thinking about it.
Yeah, it's true.
So yeah, that is my number one tip for steep slopes.
Just
please remember, don't go doing these things for fun or just, you know, anything like that.
Safe.
You must, at least have some indication that you've got the ability to do it. Because don't want you to hurt yourself or hurt anyone else. That's the most important thing. To me, that's always my most important thing, because it's not hurting anyone else, because when it's busy, that's my biggest thing.
Oh, God, when it's busy, it's crazy, right?
Yeah, and also, I don't want to hurt myself because I don't want to not be able to go skiing next week.
No.
So I'm constantly thinking, like, don't hurt yourself, don't hurt yourself, don't hurt yourself. But at the same time, it is a sport and it has got an element of risk to it. But the people that do hurt themselves, most of them probably are doing something that they shouldn't be doing outside of their ability. And not only that, the people that aren't doing that get hurt, it's probably just very, very unlucky. And they've probably crashed 100 times and been fine. And this one time they just landed in an awkward position. Yeah. And, you know, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, it can happen. It's like sometimes just unhelped, isn't it?
Yeah. So, yeah, that was episode 3. I would like to say a huge thank you to everybody that's been watching and liking and subscribing and helping. It really is great. Like I said, this is a pure passion project, so I'm not doing it for views or potential income or anything like that in the end. I'm just doing it because I want to try and help other people make great decisions and have the fun that I do, and talk about skiing. And I really appreciate it. If you've got to the end, I would like you to put in the comments section heated glove, the word heated glove, so I know if anyone sat through this, however long this has been podcast. And maybe like at some point in the future we'll add them all up and do a giveaway or something. But anyway, thank you all for watching.
Yes,
thank you to my amazing wife for joining us on this episode.
On Valentine's Day.
On Valentine's Day. On one of the next episodes, we're going to have my friend Molly come in, who doesn't love skiing as much as me, because I don't know if anyone does. But
she loves skiing.
She loves skiing.
She loves skiing.
Yeah, she loves skiing. We love her. We're going to have her on.
Yeah.
And she is particularly amusing. So hopefully you guys will enjoy listening to her. And then at some point in the future, I think we'll have all of us on and we'll have just a big group chat about Zermatt maybe or something like that.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
But yeah, thank you so much. We will see you in episode 4. Have a great week. Enjoy the half term if you're skiing, and we will see you then.
Bye.